Hello and welcome to Health Guide on Global Television, your hub for topical discussions on health matters. I am Queen Agaba. Today, we explore an important approach to stress relief and holistic wellness. In a world that often feels overwhelming, toxic stress has become a common challenge, impacting both our physical and mental health. But how can we combat such stress effectively? Whether you're new to meditation or looking for a way to enhance your stress management strategies, this discussion promises to be enlightening. As my guest, Ojemewelan Roseling Okosu, who is a transcendental meditation teacher, takes us through what transcendental meditation is and the journey right after this break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. Like I mentioned before the break, my guest on the program, Ojemewalan Roseling Okosun, is a transcendental meditation teacher, and she will be talking to us about what transcendental meditation is and the benefits it comes with. Many thanks for joining me on the program this morning.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure to have you join us.
I'm glad being here.
Okay, we're talking a while off camera about what transcendental meditation is. Like for me, it's new to me, and I want you to let us in on what it is. What is transcendental meditation? What should we think about when it comes to when we hear that when we hear transcendental meditation?
So in understanding what transcendental meditation is, I would say we are familiar with, different level of consciousness. When we're in the waking state of consciousness, which is where we are right now, you are alert, right? And you have thoughts. Your awareness is outside, right? And then we have another state that we call the sleeping state of consciousness, where you are in a state of rest, okay? You are not aware of your environment. So you have zero awareness, and then you're also having, zero thoughts. That's the sleeping state of consciousness. Now there is another state, which is the dream state of consciousness, where you have zero awareness, but then you have thoughts playing out as dreams, right? Now, we also have another state of consciousness which we are not familiar with, and that is the state of consciousness we should actually expose our nervous system to. That state of consciousness is called the transcendental state of consciousness, okay? Where you are fully aware, you have that full awareness, and at the same time, you have no thoughts, okay? Zero thoughts. Now, in that state, your body experiences, a unique state where you are restful, but at the same time you are alert. Okay. Now, that state is called the restful alertness. When you expose your nervous system to that state of consciousness, your nervous system gains a unique state of rest that is deeper than the rest you get when you sleep. Okay. Now, that is the state we should expose our nervous system to eliminate all the stresses that we acquire during our regular waking state of consciousness. Okay. Now, when we expose our nervous system to that state and our stresses get eliminated, we start enjoying, the benefits of transcendental meditation. And then we've categorized, these benefits into four. Now, in the area of your health, we know that, sickness and diseases thrive where there's a lot of stress in the nervous system, right? So when we eliminate these stresses, there is no fertilizer for sickness and diseases to thrive, okay? And then in the area of the development of our mental potentials, when we eliminate stresses, now what happens is this. the different parts of our brain start functioning in a more holistic way. So there is this coherence in the different parts of our brain. Okay. Now, we know by science, we know that when that happens, it's associated with, high productivity level, high creativity level, our IQ increases, our moral reasoning increases, and a whole lot of benefits, right? And also in the area of our social behavior. Now, when we experience that level of calmness inside of us and our peace starts blossoming inside, what happens is when we relate to ourselves and our neighbors, we relate to each other in a more, peaceful and more calm way. And then, there's an increase in the appreciation of our neighbors. There's high tolerance. And with that, when you give this kind of understanding, this kind of love to your neighbors, it's only normal that they reciprocate this gesture to you. I mean, a typical example would be when if you don't know me and I'm walking across you on the street, if I'm smiling so much, what would you do naturally?
I would smile back.
That's
Definitely.
it. Okay, so I mean, when we give these good behaviors to our neighbor, we get it back in return. And then the goal for the whole thing is just to increase world peace, which is the fourth category. Okay, to create a world where there is so much peace, so much love, and all the negativity vices would, reduce, or the negative trends will reduce significantly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good to know that, this comes with all of these benefits. But let's talk about the technique. How is it like? How can I begin to get involved in transcendental meditation? Is it something that is taught, or can I do it myself? Do I need to attend a school? Tell me about it. What are the techniques, the ways to go about it?
I mean, transcendental meditation is taught one-on-one, teacher to student, okay? You need a certified teacher to be able to instruct you on transcendental meditation. And now there are 7 steps in learning transcendental meditation. The first step being an introductory lecture where you're being told what transcendental meditation is, what it is not, how it works. And then another step would be the preparatory lecture.
How do I begin to get into transcendental meditation? Is it taught? Is it something I can practice on my own? Do I need to learn, get proper training first before I can, begin to meditate, this way? How do I go about it?
Yeah, in learning transcendental meditation, it's taught one-on-one. So it's a teacher-student kind of relationship that has to be established for the knowledge to be passed. Now, learning transcendental meditation requires 7 steps. The first one being an introductory lecture. You come in, we tell you what transcendental meditation is, what it is not, how it works, and then some areas of benefits. And then if you want to proceed, we go into the preparatory lecture where we tell you the requirement for learning transcendental meditation, where it comes from. Okay, and then when you want to proceed, we go into the interview where we get to know you as a student, because as a teacher I get to know you as a student, and then you sign off on some legalities, and then we move straight into the instruction, which is the 4th step. Now you'll be instructed with the knowledge, and then you go home, practice, and come back with your experiences. So for the 5th, 6th, 7th step, you go home, practice, come back with your experiences. We give you intellectual understanding of your experiences. All the 7 steps can happen if you opt for a physical class. It can happen in 4 consecutive days. Okay, and then if you opt for the digital course, then we have to establish 1 physical contact where you'll be instructed, but then the intro, the prep, the interview can be done virtually. And then the first day, second day, and third day of learning can be continued in the digital course. So we have an app that you can go through with that course.
Well, that's interesting. Like I mentioned earlier that I had not heard about transcendental meditation. First of all, let me ask how long it has been in existence, and the acceptance level here in Nigeria.
It's been in existence over 60-something years now. Okay, and it's widely accepted. Over millions of people across the globe practice transcendental meditation. And I should also note that it is one of the most researched meditation technique in the world as it is. Okay, everywhere in the world, list a country, you would find people, you find teachers, you find people who practice transcendental meditation. Yeah, the awareness about transcendental meditation is not so popular in Nigeria. But I mean, we are getting there. Okay, I mean, that's why we're using your platform to just create the awareness that this technique is very useful and we should really, really use it to have that holistic change that we crave in our lives.
So how much of an effective stress manager or is it stress, or is this transcendental meditation? Let us in on the benefits. Is it just to manage stress, your well-being, your general well-being? What are those things that
It's all inclusive. Okay, so it helps you manage stress, it gives you a holistic change. So in the areas of your health, in the areas of your mental development, in the areas of your social behavior, like I stated earlier, and then creating world peace. But bottom line, how it works is this. Let's say, in understanding how it works, we would liken the mind to like an ocean, right? When you see an ocean, the first thing that comes to your mind is the active waves on the surface of the ocean. But then when you take a cross section of the ocean, what you realize is this, that deep within that ocean is that silent field that is inherent to every individual. Now, it is given that the universe is structured in layers, right? From the very gross level to the finest relative to that, and everything just go down to the unified field, right? Similarly with the mind, okay, from that active thinking surface level, it keeps going until you get to that point where there is absolute silence. Now, what we do in transcendental meditation is basically simple. We take our awareness from that active thinking levels, if you like, the relative field, to that silent field that is inherent every individual. And then we experience that unique state of rest. And when we are going towards that silent field, what happens is this: the mind starts settling down. And because the mind and the body work corresponding to each other, when the mind starts settling down, the body also starts settling down until it gains that unique state of rest that I described earlier as, restful alertness, where you are enjoying a deep state of rest, but at the same time you are alert. Okay, and we know that the only thing that can eliminate stresses is deep rest. And we know that the profound rejuvenating rest you get in transcendental states, eliminates stresses more effectively than the rest we get when we close our eyes to sleep. And like I said earlier, there are loads and loads of researches that has gone into this to back up this statement I just made.
Interesting. Thank you very much for establishing this. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, the conversation continues. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Health Guide on Global Television, your hub for topical discussions on health matters. And before the break, we have been speaking about transcendental meditation with our expert guest on the program. And I want us to look at, the psychological changes that occurs, during this process, this meditation, and let's also look at combating, how that helps us to combat stress management, how we can combat stress, basically.
Okay, so let's picture the worst form of stress, which is acute stress, right? Now, what happens in the brain when you have acute stress or you're experiencing acute stress is this. The center of the brain that is in charge, our fear center, when it experiences a shock in an overdrive. So what does that mean? When it's, let's say, having like an overheating, if we have to use an analogy, using a car, for example, when it's overheating, when you're in a high speed going somewhere and then you're having overheating, in your car. Now, what we would typically do is look for a way to just park and turn off the ignition and allow the car to cool down, right? Now, that is what happens in the brain. Basically, that's a simple, analogy of what happens in the brain when we have acute, stress. Now, in transcendental state of consciousness, we expose our nervous system to a level of unique rest that calms us down. Now, that calmness that it provides, that calmness that our nervous system is exposed to during transcendental meditative state, calms the nervous system and then gives, allow the stresses in that our nervous system to just find their way out. Basically, that is what happens. Now, stresses are foreign materials to the nervous system. If you give the nervous system the opportunity, it will easily eradicate them. Okay, so what we do in the transcendental state is just giving the body that opportunity to eradicate the stresses in our nervous system. That is how transcendental meditation, combats stresses.
Thank you so much. It's been an interesting conversation. I'm enlightened and I'm beginning to, know how much this meditation can do to my overall well-being. But let's take a look at specific examples. Are there examples of people who have had success stories from transcendental meditation in managing their stress?
Loads and loads and loads of testimonials everywhere about how transcendent. I for one am a success story. But let's not go into
I think you look it because you've been very very relaxed, very calm.
And there are loads and loads of testimonials in the nets, on social media platforms. You can Google. There are a lot of celebrities who practice transcendental meditation to just get that calmness, like you pointed out. Okay, on my own part, there are loads and loads of them out there. But a typical one would be, the US veterans who have gone for war and they are looking for means to help them solve their PTSDs, post-traumatic stress disorders. Now, transcendental meditation was actually introduced to them and it helped them more significantly to combat PTSD. And of course, like I said, the researches are everywhere. You can just easily Google it, it's everywhere. And it's been quite helpful, for those people, to help them, to give them that level of calmness that they need. And then life is peaceful, life is supposed to be bliss. And when you expose yourself to that transcendental state of consciousness, you enjoy this bliss. You're always happy, regardless of the situation. Whether you set a goal and you don't achieve it, whether you achieve your goals, whether things around you are not really going as planned, you just know because you're anchored, in the transcendental state. Your happiness is intact, your bliss is intact. You maintain your smiles all the time.
Just like you have been doing all through the program. It's a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you so much. Incidentally, that's how much time would allow us to take on the program, but we'd definitely love to have you again on our platform, talk about transcendental meditation. All right, thank you so much. Well, this is where we wrap up the conversation on Health Guide. Don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.